breaking news concerning an item of news that I raised or I mentioned during Nationwide at 5 on Friday concerning the wife of the former Member of Parliament for Western St. Mary, Joylan Silvera, that's Melissa Silvera, who died on November 10 this year. Initial reports, media reports, were that she died in her sleep. I did say on Friday that information coming to Nationwide was that the autopsy report on her body showed that she died from gunshot wounds. Well, there's a major development in that matter this afternoon. Cliff Hughes is online. Good afternoon, Cliff.
Good afternoon, George. Good afternoon, listeners.
Well,
this is a major development. Tell us what's the latest, George.
The very latest is that I just spoke with the Deputy Commissioner of Police in charge of crime and security, Fitz Bailey, who has confirmed that the death of Melissa Silvera is being treated as a homicide. He has confirmed that a murder investigation is now underway, Cliff.
Well, since we broke the story yesterday evening, this has been reverberating around the country, and in particular in St. Andrew, where the Silveras are well known. Melissa was the daughter of the late Leslie Davis, who was a very strong stalwart of the People's National Party, worked closely with a number of former cabinet ministers and former Prime Minister P.J. Patterson. And Melissa and Joylan Silvera have been married for about since 2015. And the news that this is now a murder investigation is sending shockwaves, because when she died on November 10, approximately 6 weeks ago, the theory was that she went to bed and just died in her sleep. Well, things took a turn when the postmortem report came back yesterday and showed that she had 3 gunshot wounds, we're told, if not more.
Yes.
And that is setting the cats among the pigeons.
Yes, at least 3 gunshot wounds is what I heard from yesterday. And what we are certain of is that Joylan Silvera has retained a King's Counsel to monitor things on his behalf. I understand, Cliff, that detectives from the Scenes of Crimes unit have spoken to Mr. Silvera already. And I understand that he has been put in a position where he needs someone of the experience of a King's Counsel to really marshal things on his behalf based on how things are poised at the moment. I won't say more than that. But
well, what we can say is that he is now under a cloud of suspicion.
Mm-hmm.
Put it no stronger than that. He's now under a cloud of suspicion. And there's another element to the story we're learning, George, that the initial police personnel who were involved in the investigation, that they are under scrutiny now as well as to how they conducted their initial preliminary investigations. And that could also be a big development in this murder investigation now.
Also, Cliff, I have been reliably informed that the room where Melissa Silvera's body was found, it is in a different, how should I put this now? It's different to how it was when her body was found. In other words, renovations have reportedly happened in the room or been done to the room. And
yes, that is also my information, that significant renovations were done to that room where Melissa was killed at their home in Stony Hill.
Yep.
In St. Andrew.
Yep.
And this is a shocker to a lot of people. Some people are already saying no because of what they knew about what was happening in that house. But this is a real shocker, because you recall when the news came through of the passing of Mrs. Silvera, several people were expressing their condolences. Some people were in shock because she's only 40 years old. To hear that a woman of 40 years old, in good health, went to bed and didn't wake, yes, also was a talking point. But those things happen. So now to hear that she died of gunshot wounds is a stunning development.
And I'm not saying it's related, obviously, but it's a tragedy that is the latest in what is now a string for the Silvera family. Because remember, their 2-year-old son, a couple of years ago, drowned in a swimming pool. So
yes.
it's one tragedy to the next where the Silvera family is concerned.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they lost their mother. Melissa's mother died earlier this year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's really a string of tragedies for the family.
Yep,
and,
it is.
And their friends.
Yep.
And I can tell you, it's a tragedy for the family, but it's also a shocker for their friends, yeah, and members and supporters of the People's National Party who knew of Melissa and her mom, Leslie, and their former Member of Parliament, Joylan Silvera, who was the Member of Parliament in Western St. Mary.
Yep.
Yes. So it's tragic all around. But I suspect the coming week we're going to hear more, as the police now have a crack team on it. One of the things we should say is that the investigators have been changed, because the initial investigators, they are now under scrutiny as well.
Yep.
As to what they did, how they did it, and there are several questions. Who had pronounced Melissa Silvera dead? Who had pronounced that she died of some natural cause in her sleep? Who did that? How was that promulgated? Yeah? Those are questions that will have to be answered, as well as the initial police investigators. What did they do? What did they know? When did they know it? And how did they respond?
Well, you say the next week is going to be interesting. I'm raising you one. The next 48 hours are going to be crucial in the life of Joylan Silvera.
Okay. All right, George.
Thank you very much, Cliff. So the news is that the police are treating the death of Melissa Silvera, wife of the former Member of Parliament for Western St. Mary, Joylan Silvera, initially reported as she died in her sleep. That was the initial report. The police are saying, no, we're treating this as a murder investigation.